This is the Mixing Station app. It's got these little fader symbols there called Mixing Station. So go ahead and open that. This is the app we use to mix our in-ear monitors. You're going to come to a page like this that's asks you to select the console. And we have a Behringer Wing, so you're going to select Wing right there. And then if you go into here, you want the personal monitor tab here, and then whatever bus that your headphone amp is labeled with, or your wireless pack is labeled with. In this case, mine is bus 5, so I'm gonna, which it's already set to. So I'm gonna be on bus 5 there. And then don't worry about the mixer IP. If this is messed up at some point, Andrew, I will help you get it back together. And then you're just gonna hit connect right there. And this will hook you into the soundboard where you'll be able to control your own monitor mix. You've got typically 3 layers set up down here that are instruments, vocals, and then drums and click. So you can switch between whatever you want to change. I'm going to go to instruments there. And then these work like normal faders where you just move them up and down to change the volume of whatever you want to change. You've got, let's see, if you go up here and click on this guy, you can pan things either to the left this way or to the right, which I'll get into more of how to do that or how you want to set that up later. And then you can, if you want things off or on, or things are off that you need on, you've got off and on up here. To change these, though, you have to go down here and hit mute enable, and then you can turn things off or back on, depending on what you need. You can also hit this fine control, which will make the fader move slower. It just makes it a little easier to fine tune a mix. If you only need a little bit of change, you can hit that fine button and just tweak it a very little bit. Now, on occasion, the app will freeze. This will turn blue, but the fader won't actually move. In that case, you're going to want to double tap the home button and then push that app up and out of the screen, which closes it. And then you'll just go down and reopen the app. You'll hit Wing again, hit Connect again, and then you should be right back in and able to change stuff. On occasion, that'll happen. Hopefully, it doesn't happen too much, but on occasion it does. Now, to start with, when you're starting mixing your monitor, you need to make sure that the volume on your pack is in the correct place and the volume on your monitor itself is in the correct place. And that is what this bus master is for down here. Typically, a good place to start is at -10 dB. You can see the little -10 there. So if you set that fader there, this controls your overall volume going to your monitor from the soundboard. So typically you can set that at about -10 and leave it there for the most part. If we need to tweak it a little bit, Andrew will let you know, or he can tweak it from the soundboard. Now then, the volume on your pack is going to basically become your master volume, where you want to set it typically a little under halfway. And then as a good starting place, and then move your faders from there. This will keep you from getting your faders either way too low if the pack is turned up too high, or the fader's way too high and you'll run out of room if your pack isn't high enough. So -10 on the bus master, and then a little under halfway on your pack will put you at a good spot to keep these faders in good places. Now, when you're starting mixing, you want to, if your bus master and your pack volume are set correctly, you'll want to then turn yourself up, whether your instrument or your vocal, up to a good solid volume where you can hear it really well. Typically then, after you set that, you want to go ahead and set the click where you can hear it really well, but a little bit under your instrument. And then from there, you can kind of set stuff a little bit under those two. So everything else you can kind of set under those. Now keep in mind that you don't necessarily need to hear everything. So if I'm let's see, say I'm playing bass. I want to hear the kick drum really well. And I want to hear the click really well, obviously. And then I want to hear some of the lead vocal and maybe some piano or acoustic guitar or something like that. So I kind of know where we're at in the song. But other than that, I don't necessarily need to hear everything else. Now, a note about if you've just got a lot going on in your head and it's kind of overwhelming, it's feeling like there's too much going on, a great way to mix is to mix by subtraction. This also applies if you've got something that's super loud and just overwhelming. You don't want to necessarily turn everything else up so you can hear them. You want to turn that one thing down. So mixing by subtraction basically means you're trying to mix your monitor well by pulling things out. So if there's things you can't hear that you need to, maybe take what's really loud in your monitor and turn it down a little bit rather than turning stuff up. There are times when you will need to turn things up, but this is a great place to start because you can kind of get into a habit where you're just pushing everything up and up and up and up and up until everything's just super loud and really overwhelming. Instead of doing that, try mix by subtracting first. If that doesn't work, then you might need to start turning some stuff up. Another thing to help if things are getting really muddy in your ears, or it feels like there's just this wall of sound and you can't distinguish things very well, that's when panning comes in handy. So typically, I will pan things how they sit on the stage, except for a few things. So, for example, if I'm playing electric guitar and I've got piano to my right and an acoustic guitar to my left, I'm going to pan, let's see. So I'm going to pan this acoustic guitar most of the way to my left. I'm not going to pan it all the way because I don't want it in only that side of my ears. But I'm going to pan it most of the way that way. And then I'm going to pan piano most of the way to the right. And this will create some kind of spatial separation and make things a lot clearer in your head. There are a few things I don't pan. Those are drums and bass and myself. Those are the three things I pretty much never pan. Other than that, I pan everything else, basically. So you see that like my acoustic or my electric are centered, but everything else here, and bass is centered, but everything else here is panned. Even on vocals, my vocals center, but the other vocals are panned to other sides, so that it clears up stuff in my head. And then the click I have all the way on one side, which frees up some of the other space on the other side for other instruments like piano and stuff like that. Now, if things in your head sound really dry, a great thing to add for a vocalist, you've got this vocal reverb channel, which will add some reverb to your vocal mix and help it not be so dry in your ears. If you add too much of this, things can get really washy and really muddy really fast. So be careful with that. But it is a good way to kind of add some space to what's going on in your ears. Another great way to do that is through, I don't think I have it on here. Usually it's sitting right here, is the crowd mic. You can add crowd mics to your mix to get some of the ambient room sound into your ears. Again, so things don't sound quite so dry. But again, if you add too much, things can get really washy and really muddy really fast. So it's great to add some so you feel like you're actually in the room. Just don't add too much. Now in practice, when you're in Music Stand here and you want to adjust something in your monitor, all you have to do, there's two ways to do this. One is you can double click the home button and jump over to Mixing Station and then do your adjustments, whatever you need, and then double click the home button again and jump back to Music Stand, and then you're back on your chord chart. The other way to do it is you can take 4 fingers and swipe on the screen. Oops. Going to do that. And you can jump to Music Stand and then 4 fingers again, swipe on the screen, In theory, must be the other way. There we go. And you can jump right back to Music Stand that way as well. So that is the basics of Mixing Station and how to mix monitors. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'd love to help you through this.